All right, it is August 3rd, 2020, and I'm going on hopefully another 24-hour fast today. It's 9:30 a.m. I've been fasting for about 9.5 hours now, and today's an important anniversary for me. 12 years ago, I had just gotten an 18-speed bike, and I took it from my family's home in Murraysville, a suburb of Pittsburgh. I was hoping to ride it all the way to Rochester, New York. I was planning to start my PhD program later that month, mid-August of 2008. I was heading out and hoping to arrive in 2 weeks. This was in the summertime. And I headed out August 3rd, and I spent the next 2 days on the road. Actually, I camped out um, halfway through my trip. The problem is that on August 5th, I got to recheck the weather forecast back then because it's fun to think back to it. The wind direction was not favorable anymore, and I had to head back. But I had a fun trip. My parents were so upset because they thought I was crazy for trying this. I had I, I had ran away from home a couple times doing stuff like this before, and they were never happy about it. But they realized that I needed to get some exercise anyhow, and if that was the only way I was doing it, they somewhat accepted it. So that was good. And they knew I had the good sense to call home if anything crazy were to go on during the trip. The first time I ever left my parents' home like this, I was 13 years old. I used to love to collect coins. Well, I still do, but I used to love to go to the bank to get rolls of coins to search through. It's not really worth my time anymore. I mean, you make about $2 an hour doing that, and I have better things to do with my time now. But in the past, I used to love to get rolls of $50 to search. Sometimes an occasional silver coin would turn up. You gotta remember, back in this was around 2000, a silver $50 had just barely over 50 cents worth of silver. So not too many people were doing this. As a kid, it seemed like a fun thing to do. And even though I was making like 10 cents every time I found one of those coins, and I was finding one of them like once every roll or maybe once every two rolls. It wasn't it's kind of like finding a copper penny today. Uh, but as a kid, it seemed like a big deal. And I one time I got into an argument with my mom over something really silly. I mean, it wasn't like my mom was upset about my I was using drugs or something. It wasn't like I was hanging with the wrong crowd. It was something more along the lines that of I was doing. I had a different schedule for doing my chores than what she expected, and so when she went into my room, there were things that were not clean. That I just had a different schedule. That's all. I was busy with my homework. I was going to get to it. My mom does that a lot. Um, I was just thinking about going home to my family, and they've downsized a little bit in terms of their living situation. And I was thinking about if I would offend my family if I got a hotel or a hostel when I got back to Atlanta. Uh, Not only because of my mom's habit of always picking on little details like that, but also because I want to mingle with other people as well. After COVID is over, obviously, but I want to mingle with other people when I travel. And so I was talking to my mom, and she said, no, that would be good because we've downsized anyway. I haven't seen their new home, but they've downsized a little bit anyway. Uh, but we get into little details like that. It's never anything big. I wish my mom would argue over big things, but it never is, which is what makes it really silly. Anyways, I was 13 years old. My mom had gotten upset over a little detail like that, and I stormed away and I walked about a mile and a half into the city of Murraysville, downtown Murraysville. This is about a mile and a half from where we lived. And I went to several banks to get rolls of coins to search. And I think I might have found a few silver coins. It was not uncommon back then in 2000, 2001. And uh, my parents were frantically looking for me, and finally they found me in the city, and I was bragging about how many silver coins I had found, and that made my mom even more upset because she thought that I should be focusing on other things, and uh, I my parents were very upset because I at the time my parents were arguing all the time about how much money my dad had lost in the stock market. And I half jokingly suggested that he should invest in 40% silver, half dollars, because at the time you could buy them in bulk for about 60 to 65 cents a coin. And I thought the most he could lose was, what was it? If you take every 60 cents became 50 cents, you lost about 15, 16% compared to the, I don't know, 50 to 60% he had lost in the stock market the previous year that we were arguing about. My mom was arguing about how a year earlier during the bubble, she had suggested that they pay off their mortgage, and how my dad had boasted that he could get our family into a bigger home, and then after they had lost the 50 to 60%, I was suggesting they move all their money into silver coins, and my mom just thought I was crazy, and my dad also thought I was crazy, and so when I went out to look for silver coins, they thought I had lost my mind because at first I had suggested that my dad take his nest egg and move it into silver coins. Um, and then now 7 years later, now that I had moved out of the family's home, at the time, 2008, at the time, there was another coin that I liked, the 100 yen silver coin. For the same reason, you had the downside protection, and also the 100,000 yen gold coin. And my mom just lost her mind when I moved on to that after I moved out of their home. Um, anyways, so I took a walk and I went to get silver coins, and my mom just went ape shot crazy over that because she thought I had lost my mind, and she thought I was reading all this shit on the internet. Okay, that was when I was 13. Um, when I was trying to remember all the other long distance travel. Oh, when I was 16 years old, I stopped drinking soda. Um, my parents had tried to get me to cut back on soda. Didn't work. The problem is that they would try to ration how much soda they were buying. We'd go to the grocery store every once or twice a week, and they would buy however much soda they thought I should drink until the next trip to the grocery store, which was quite generous, by the way. They once a week they might buy a 2 liter soda, and they would go, "This is your soda for until next Sunday." And the problem is that I would be unhappy, and I would cause quite a scene. I mean, when I was 15, I obviously my behavior wasn't the best compared to nowadays, and I would cause all sorts of. I would get violent. I would refuse to do other things because I didn't have my soda, and I uh, I wasn't happy. It wasn't until I quit drinking soda that I accepted. I mean, I still wasn't happy because I was a teenager and I had all sorts of issues, but at least I accepted the fact that I didn't have soda. If I drank half of the soda that I wanted to, I was not happy. See, when you cut back from 8 glasses of soda to 2 glasses of soda in a day, you're not enjoying those 2 glasses of soda. You're depriving yourself of 6 glasses of soda. That's how I saw it. When you quit drinking the soda, now you can go ahead and enjoy other beverages, whether it be water or tea or even beer, right? You could actually enjoy those instead of thinking, oh my God, I'd rather be having a soda and I'm compromising, right? But my parents didn't see it that way. And so I was 16 years old. I refused to drink any soda. And to the point that my parents thought I was crazy. The thing is, when I stopped drinking soda, it made me want to quit other things as well. See, I distinctly remember, I think I was 17 years old at this time. I had quit drinking soda, but I was still eating a lot of other junk food. one day I was eating something, obviously something sugary, and I had belched up this gas, and it reminded me of soda, and because it had a similar flavor to it, and it didn't feel very good. And so I vowed to clean up the rest of my diet as well. And now my parents were even more upset because I wouldn't go with them to the fast food restaurants. And my parents thought that I needed to have a life as well. What they didn't realize was that I wasn't having a life with the junk food either. I mean, it was making me overweight. It was making me uh, it was causing me social problems. It made it hard for me to mingle with other people. You know, if I were eating it today, it would put me at risk of getting COVID-19. Which is really funny. I really cringe when I go to the grocery store and I see somebody dressed up like they could go to Mars, and they run away from you when you get 8 feet from them, and you look at their shopping cart and it's full of stuff that will compromise their immune system and make them at risk of COVID-19. I mean, how about put some of the energy into that as well? I mean, if you're going to put energy into getting 10, 12 feet away from people and dressing up like you could go to Mars, I think you could put some energy into saving your immune system as well. See, I wish on top of 6 feet apart, we had you should take 6 grams of vitamin C a day from your food, right? Not from your supplements. But unfortunately, that's not very popular because a lot of junk food companies would lose money, and plus, Americans just I sometimes wonder when people revolt against advice on not smoking or on eating healthier, is it really because they want their cigarettes and junk food, or is it they feel like they weren't smart enough to think about it to begin with, and now some of these politicians or maybe experts are telling them about it, and they're thinking, I didn't think about this 10 years ago. It must be wrong. You know, their ego kind of gets in the way of following good advice, right? Because I know I do that sometimes as well, and their ego gets in the way, and now they're hurting themselves, thinking that they're hurting the people giving them the advice, right? Um, Anyways, so my parents and I got into a big argument because I wouldn't go with them to the fast food place. And eventually I stopped going with them to any other restaurant. And for many years, actually, I ate everything at home. And even then, I would insist on how my mom would cook various meals, not using sugar, MSG, and again, my parents used to behave like a lot of people. They revolted. They thought that, life should be enjoyed. And actually, what they don't realize, and they still don't, well, they realize it now, but they didn't realize back then, I really enjoyed my newfound healthy foods. I really enjoyed it. I felt so much freer. It's kind of like when I go on a fast today. Um, See, even today, when I call my parents, I get very nervous telling them I'm going on a fast. I usually don't tell them about the fast until it's all over because they get very nervous about me. They think I'm going to, sometimes they almost feel like I'm going to die from doing this. Um, I recently tested positive for the COVID-19 antibodies, and I can only speculate when I had COVID-19. I think back at times when I might have woke up feeling a little bit wrong, and who knows? See, a lot of people my age, just reading online, have people my age have died of COVID-19. They've gotten really ill. They've been out of work for weeks. I didn't feel any of that, and see, I'd rather enjoy that than to enjoy junk food. Right, especially if I never really enjoyed junk food. I felt enslaved by it. I would have cravings for it, and 20 years ago, if my family said we're going on vacation to Taiwan, 20 years ago, let's see, this was before 9/11. I didn't have that big a fear of flying before 9/11, but I had a big fear of going to Taiwan because I would be away from a lot of the junk foods that I wanted to eat on a daily basis, right? Uh, and so that's your opportunity cost of the junk food. It made it hard to go to Taiwan even, right? Anyways, so sometimes my mom would call me and she asked me how was my day, what I have for dinner, and I have to lie to her about what I had for dinner. It feels really silly. I hate having to lie to people. It feels really silly. I have to lie to her about what I did during the day because she's very nervous about me getting COVID-19. I'm more nervous about if what I'm doing is poisoning my immune system. I'm more worried about how my body will handle it when after I get COVID-19, not whether or not I'm going to catch COVID-19 from somebody else, right? They have a different philosophy to it. What else? I so um, basically, what people don't, a lot of people don't like to enjoy new adventures. You know, one of the first things I told myself when COVID-19 first went down was that let's think about some things I couldn't do before COVID-19 and do them during the 2 weeks that we're going to lock, because it was only going to be a 2 week lockdown at the very beginning, right? And so I took a number of long distance walks. I obviously couldn't go see my girlfriend because she lives with her parents and grandparents. They have elderly people, and I really enjoyed my time alone. And I gave the same advice to my girlfriend. You know, think about some things you couldn't do before COVID-19. She loves art, and she made a number of art pieces, and we really, both of us, we really enjoyed our time away from each other that we never thought was possible. And so we kind of broke up. I mean, we're still close friends, but we broke up because of that. Um, Okay, and the other thing I realized I couldn't do on a regular basis before COVID-19 was fasting, because unfortunately, food is very social in the circle of friends that I have. One of the big problems, I'm going to have to think about how I'm going to address this. When I fast, my social anxiety goes away. Well, I wouldn't say goes away, but temporarily disappears during the time I'm fasting. You see, one of the places I recently went when I was fasting, I went to a protest. When Seattle had their protest, Black Lives Matter, they took up 6 blocks of downtown Seattle. It was peaceful at the beginning. I mean, certainly there was violence at the end, but it was very peaceful at the beginning, except that it was a big crowd, right? Instead of 6 feet apart, they turned it into a 6 sub, right? Except that we're still paying for the price of that now. But for me, it was a big challenge for me because I get into social anxiety when I see a big crowd like that. I mean, I was already practicing social distancing long before COVID-19 for that very reason. But I was fasting that day. I had been fasting for a good 24 hours when I went to that protest. I felt so good. It felt like nothing could get on my skin. It just slid right off. The problem is that social environments usually involve food. For me, I can't mix them. If I have food and I go to a social environment, I don't handle it very well. If I go there fasting, I handle it very well. I was just thinking about a lot of job interviews that I go to always involve going to a meal. I don't know what would happen if I told the person conducting the interview, you know, I'm sorry, I'm going on a fast today. You know, I have a feeling they would try to dig into why I'm going onto a fast. Then I have to make up some reason. I can't really say I have social anxiety on the first day of a job interview, right? What about going on a date, right? Oh, I can't go to meals on dates because that doesn't work well for me. I got to think about how I handle this because I handle social events a lot better when I'm fasting. Unfortunately, social events are the worst time to do fast. Oh, oh well, I'm sure I'll figure out a partial solution. I could at least fast before the social event and at least have most of the benefits. But it's just such a shame that the place that I need to fast is one of the hardest places to fast from a social point of view. Anyways, it's an anniversary for me, so another 24-hour fast. Well, I've been doing a lot of fasts this year. Every anniversary, every birthday, every major event, it's good. I want to teach myself that life can go on, events can go on without having to mindlessly poison yourself. Well, none of the foods I'm consuming are poison, but without having to harm yourself or mindlessly put stuff into your body without even thinking about it, right? Thanks for watching.